What's up, everybody? This is the Rabid Hedgehog, and welcome back to riding on Scarlett, a bike that really has not been mentioned too much actually since I got her. More for the fact that she's just performing so trouble-free and wonderfully that there's nothing really to report crazy. So why get a CB1100EX? So the CB1100EX is, of course, the classic variant. Of course, now we have the new Neo Cafe line for this year here in 2019 from Honda. You got the 300, you have the 650, and you of course have the 1000. All these retrofied looking roadsters that are highly modernized with good old liquid cooling and everything and modern horsepower. Well, this one is a relic of the past. And to be honest, I prefer the all-metal naked look of the relic of the past. So, an air-cooled engine, like I said in the review, only around 80 horsepower going to the rear wheel. It's not very much power compared to the modern ones. It's not even much power compared to the original CB1100 that came out in the 80s, around 81. This bike is a throwback to those, but is not all the way. And the reason being is I got a little bit disenfranchised with Harley Davidson after working with them. So I wanted to get away from the night rod. I wanted to get away from that kind of life. I wanted to just get a bike that I could enjoy and I could ride for a long time to come reliably and effectively. I wanted a bike that could also be longer range and better fuel economy too. When you're dealing with a 5-gallon fuel tank and you literally only have a range of about 140 to 50 miles at best, that's not exactly good fuel mileage. Now, this particular motorcycle has a 4.2 gallon fuel tank, so it is less. However, I have achieved 55 miles per gallon, whereas on the night rod I've only achieved ever 42 was its maximum. So the average was 35 to 38. So with that, I wanted performance and economy. And that's what this bike brings. It has very good performance. It's not, everybody says it's heavy, steers heavy and everything like that. I have not found that to be true. It might have a slight thing with the front end being a little bit heavy. There's not 50-50 weight distribution front and back, and that might be what people are feeling. But once again, most motorcycle journalists are ex-racers that are out there just making up an opinion. Whereas this motorcycle is not for the ex-racer, it is for the everyday rider. So with its Showa dual bending valve front fork at 41 millimeters and the twin shocks in the back, this bike is very, very comfortable. All the preloads are adjusted on this bike, and that way it makes it even more comfortable. It helps rebound a lot better because it's anticipating my weight now. And it's been like that since the day I got it, to be honest. I got it nicely adjusted before I went riding all day long on her. And that's the one thing about this motorcycle. It is an all-day long bike as long as you don't have a passenger. And the reason I say as long as you don't have a passenger is for the sheer fact that it is a flat seat, it is a wide seat, and the passenger puts a lot of weight on you. And you can't move around and stretch out like you normally would. So when I'm on this bike by myself, I use that wide, long, flat seat to my advantage, and I can shift around and move around if I need to, and it keeps everything flowing. The blood isn't all shut off, and my hips aren't falling asleep, and my legs aren't dying on me. It is absolutely comfortable. Now, I did add a GV windshield to this motorcycle, and as you can see, it doesn't have it right now. And the reason I took it back off is the amount of noise it produced, and the fact that the windshield that I got, it didn't have it in the description until after I bought it. It was on the box. Said you can't do over 80. And with the winds here in Oklahoma, and they're talking about wind in and speed. So with the wind here in Oklahoma, going southbound on any given day or northbound on any given day, which I ride to work and I'm going southbound now, that was a bad idea. Basically that windshield just distorted a lot. It looked like it was going to break very, very often because I'd be doing 70 miles an hour into, 20, 30, 40 mile an hour winds. Welcome to Oklahoma, everybody. and the darn thing would just distort and not, I mean, it protected the wind from the main part of my body, but there was so much buffeting within the helmet. There was so much noise under the helmet and everything, and it just didn't make sense for this bike. It also kind of broke its look up a little bit, and I prefer the clean look. If it would have been a cleaner windshield that actually worked and provided that look and protection and no noise, I would have preferred it. Don't you love people who think they're going to do something in life and they can clearly see that it's going slower on the other side, and yet they're going to try to force you over? Lovely day. Anyway, so when it comes to this bike's trouble, one flat tire, but it being a tube bike, it was really easy. I replaced the tube on it, got it filled back up, and we were on our way. One oil change, nothing else. No issues with the LEDs, no issues with the turn signals, no issues with anything. This bike has been perfect. There is a little bit of a distinguishing factor about the Honda CB1100 is that it is made in Japan, so the quality of the build is a lot better. So this bike has really good fit and finish. So when I looked at this bike, when I compared it to the other ones that were out there, I even thought about an FZ07 and SR400 again. Just something that I could use for commuting, but then again I decided that power was the way to go. This bike literally had it all. And then taking it for its first test ride, it literally had it all. It was so well balanced. It was like in the first mile, I knew in my heart and in my soul that it was the machine for me. It just rode so well and so smooth. And it doesn't leave the pins and needles on long trips either. I've gone from full to empty on this bike, straight up on it, and never once got off of it feeling pins and needles or vibrations or anything in my body. It just rides so well. The suspension is confident and very, very good on these bumps in Oklahoma. Soaks them up. Whenever riding with friends, they always watch me and they see the bike doing all the movement, and I'm sitting here just nice and stable as a rider, enjoying my ride where they're getting bucked around and knocked off their saddles and having a grand old time. So I have to say, this bike has impressed everybody it has met. And the cool thing about it too is the cool factor. The fact it does look like the old school UJM bikes of the 70s, 60s, 80s, of that time period before they put the plastic cladding on them. Don't get me wrong, the plastic clad bikes are fast, they're amazing, they're awesome, but the thing is they don't age well to me, and they simply do not have this aesthetic, this beautiful body. They simply don't look as good. It's cool to see the engine, it's cool to see the four pipes up front, it's cool to see everything exposed, not just hidden behind some things. And of course everybody's kind of getting into that deal. You have Kawasaki with the Z900 RS, and the Cafe. You have Suzuki bringing back a few of its older models like the TU250 and things like that. They haven't got a full true classic naked, but they're coming out with a Katana, which for them is their variant of this. And you know, that was a completely different look. It's an 80s look, that's what they're going back to. It's not the classic 60s look. So this bike to me stands above them all, because I'm not a fan of the Honda Neo Cafes. You know, I mean, I like them and all, I'm just not a true fan because they are plasticky more so than this one. This one has metal fenders, this one has metal gas tank, this one's got a full metal, you know, steel chassis on it, and it's a chassis that was built for the ground up intentionally for this machine, and it did a very good job. I got to ride this bike in a 7-hour course that Oklahoma State University of Oklahoma City puts out called Ready to Ride, and I was so comfortable. It is an air-cooled engine, so it did sit and idle for a little bit, and it did get a little toasty, but you know, not anything to be concerned about. And I mean, I did not have a bad time on this bike at all, especially when we took it out to the test road that they have there. That's a 2-lane highway replica with sweeping bends and S-turns and decreasing radiuses and everything. They had so many, I know it's decreasing radii, but it had so many fun things to do out there, and it was so fun for this bike and learning about it and touching down, you know, the pegs and everything. It was just so fun to do that this bike handled it so well and comfortably, and just had such a presence that everybody talked about it. Everybody wanted to know, where did I find it? How much was it? What year is it? And that's what happens every time I bring it out. I've taken it to our coffee and cars, and same thing. They come up to it and they look at it at first. They're like, what? Oh, it's modern. That's really cool. It looks exactly like my bike in the 70s. You know, it's just so cool that this bike brings out the conversations. Took it to Pops here in Oklahoma City, which is a Route 66 stop. Well, technically Arcadia, Edmond. And I mean, it just draws attention everywhere it goes, and that's the cool thing, is that if you're gonna be a person that wants to get people on bikes, bring a bike that has the presence to bring people together, to get them on bikes. And that's what this one does so well. This is a bike I never planned to sell. This bike better be falling, or wheels falling off, everything broken and on fire before I get rid of it. And I'm not going to let that happen either. I'm going to maintain her the way she needs to be maintained, and I'm going to keep working on her the way she needs to be worked on, and that way she can keep rolling forever, because this bike just fits me so well. And when I got to ride it and got to experience it and got to do all these things, it's just one of those motorcycles that literally beckoned me, and that first ride caught me, and from here on out I'm still riding it and still enjoying it. So at any rate, this is the Rabid Hedgehog, and this is CB1100 EX. If you're looking for a bike that's perfect all around and just awesome to do and ride and everything, this is the one for you. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll catch you on that next review, everyone.